This next unit is velocity and acceleration. And for this first one, it says a ball is thrown vertically upward from the ground with an initial velocity of 64 feet per second. And so we need to find the position of the ball, its velocity, and its acceleration at t equals 1. So this is a projectile motion question, so we have to write out the equation, which is negative 16t squared plus 64t. And now, first we're going to be doing position. So the position of the ball at t equals 1. Now you're just going to plug in 1 for t, so negative 16 times 1 squared plus 64 times 1. That's going to equal 48 feet. And then for velocity, you take the derivative. So it's going to be negative 32t plus 64. And then when you plug in 1, you get negative 32 times 1 plus 64, which is 32 feet per second. And then acceleration, you take the second derivative, so you're just left with negative 32, which goes to negative 32 always, and it equals negative 32 feet per second squared. Now for what time is the velocity 16 feet per second? You do 16 equal to negative 32t plus 64. And this is you're saying 16 equal to the velocity equation. So you have 16 is equal to velocity, so now you're going to solve for your t. And so you get 32t minus 48 equals 0. So you have 16, 2t minus 3 equals 0. And then if you're solving for t, you get t equals 3 over 2 seconds. Now for what is the greatest height reached, you do 0 equal to negative 32t plus 64. Because now at the greatest height, you're going to have 0 velocity because it's going to stop for the slightest second there. So then you are going to solve for this. So you have 32t minus 2 equals 0. And your time equals 2 seconds. So now you have that at t, at the greatest height, it takes 2 seconds to get there. So now you're going to just plug that into position so that you know where it is at 2 seconds. So negative 16 times 2 squared plus 64 times 2. 2 squared is 4 times negative 16 is negative 64 plus 64 times 2 is 128. You add those together, you get 64 feet. And now when will its height be 28 feet? You set position equal to 28. So 28 equals negative 16t squared plus 64t. If you solve that, you get 16t squared minus 64t plus 28 equals 0. Take out a 4, you have a 4t squared minus 16t plus 7 equals 0. And the 4, and you factor it, 2t and 2t. And that factors into minus 1 minus 7 equals 0. So then your time is a ½ second and 7½ seconds.